hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I am Jay Lee. This is Jay Lee's Corner, and this is my review of Tamars Friends Season 4, Episode 2. I think this is too close, so yes, I'm moving the camera. I hope everyone had a great day. I had a really great day. I really did. I'm off tomorrow because I have some things to handle. I will probably end up doing my Queen Sugar review tomorrow. Yes, it's going to be 2 days late. I might do it tonight, actually. I started doing Queen Sugar yesterday, and my camera just went bonkers, and I just gave up. So I'm going to do Queen Sugar. I just haven't. But I hope everyone else had a great day. You know, on this Friday Eve, and tomorrow is Friday, so of course it's always a great thing. You know, for people who's off on weekends, luckily I'm off on weekends. I hope y'all off on weekends. But let's get into this Tamar and Vince review. I'm trying to figure out if I want to go off or nah. This episode to me was a whole bunch of things. You know, baby, I just feel like after that bad show she had where she was all mad because the dancers ain't come out and the music wasn't right, you know, all that stuff, and now they back at home and she mad at her husband, who was also her manager, and there's just a lot going on, and I feel like this episode was horrible. Simply because it clearly shows the divide between Vince and Tamar. Between Tamar and Vince, and how they both are playing a part in it. I am a Tamar. I love me some Tamar. I have all her albums. When any album come on, I'm singing it. You know what I'm saying? Hot sugar. You know what I'm saying? Everything. You know, I'm very much so a Tamartian. So I don't want anyone to get this misconstrued like she don't even like Tamar. I love Tamar. Oh, she don't even like Vince. Vince cool, you know what I'm saying? But I can see how it's both their faults. And again, I don't know if that man beating her. I haven't seen him beat her. I ain't seen her beat him. I'm not here to speculate on any rumors about any abuse situations, and you know how people kind of want to be on her side because it's being alleged that he was abusive to her. I don't know any of that, okay? And I'm not gonna report on any of that because until she say yes, that's what happened, I ain't got time for it. However, in this particular episode, you know, they at the house, you know, she cooking some ramen noodles, you know what I'm saying, because she's a class-based. You know, she's real classy because she's in that mansion cooking ramen noodles. And you can get a pack of ramen noodles, you know what I'm saying, like a 24-12 pack for like $2. So, you know, she in the cooking ramen noodles or whatnot. You know, Vince come in with a plastic bag. She like, what you got a plastic bag for? And he like, you know, these are some of my clothes that I can't fit. I'm going to give them to charity. Now, my thing is, Vince, you rich. You got more clothes in that one little bag. But I get how you trying to, you know what I'm saying, let her know what you're trying to do. And, you know, she like, well, okay, you know, I see what you're trying to do. And, you know, she's saying how it's hard to have your manager as your husband and your husband as your manager because when, you know, when work stuff get in the way, it comes home. And when home things happen, it transfer over to the job. So for both of them, it's hard. And they went, you know, when he said how he gonna be donating clothes because he can't fit them no more. Now they talking about his whole weight loss surgery and him losing weight and him wanting to have his skin removal surgery. Now look, this is where I say Tamar is at fault for some of her antics. You know, he's saying how he just doesn't want to be fat. How he's very happy that he has lost 100 pounds. You know how hard it is to lose 100 pounds? It ain't easy. And yes, people say, well, he had the surgery, but you know, it's still a hard thing to go through. You know, those surgeries aren't easy, and they can have very many complications. Your body is never the same. As he even mentioned on here, it's a lot of pills you have to take after the fact. So, you know, it's a lot that goes into it. And, you know, she like, well, how lean you trying to get? And he's like, well, I want to get down to 200 pounds. And I'm like, that's not too lean. Because let's be honest, even at the weight Vince is now, he still got some meat on his bones. He's not slim and trim and skinny. You know what I'm saying? He's slimmer and he's in shape. You know what I'm saying? So, He said how the doctor told him the surgery was healthy. It's almost the same conversation they was having last time, but it's happening again. And Tamar is completely against him having the surgery, and she don't want him to have the surgery just based on his blood clot stuff. And she like, you want to basically get get this skin removal surgery, so that you got to tuck your stomach in. And I'm like, well, Tamar, if you had a stomach and you had a choice to not have to tuck it in, you would make that choice too. But her, rebuttal to him is always as well, but you haven't even tried to work out. You went from losing the weight and now you got this excess skin. You're not trying to work out first to see if it's going to tighten up. And I think it's because what he said was true. Anyone who is aware of plus size people who lose weight, when you lose that amount of weight, you end up having to have skin removal surgery. It's a surgery that I'm a plus size girl, so I know these kind of things because I've known people who went through it, and I've read up on it because I thought about having that surgery. I decided against it. But when you have weight loss surgery, or when you lose the amount of weight that he lost, there is excess skin. Part 1 of the weight loss surgery is the surgery. Part 2 of it is losing the weight. Part 3 is keeping the weight off. And then part 4 is eventually having to have that excess skin removed. That's just a part of it. And Tamar can't keep acting like, he's just, I don't want him having cosmetic surgery. It don't matter if it's called cosmetic. When you have excess skin, it can get infected. It can be detrimental to a person's health when they have a whole bunch of hanging excess skin. And what Vince is saying is true. He do need to have the surgery. Now, I don't know at what point he need to have it because as he says, it's been a year. But Tamar can't keep arguing with this man about this surgery as if he lost a little bit of weight, like he lost 20 pounds and now he won't lipo. He lost 100 pounds. He lost 100 pounds and now he has 20 pounds of excess skin on his body. I mean, come on, you gotta just, at this point, I'm looking like Tamar, you just throwing apples at a goddamn apple tree, and it ain't no point in it. And, she's just like, go ahead and get skinny in these streets, get in these streets. He's like, oh, that's what, finally it comes out. Because it's like, why you saying that because I'm trying to get healthier, I'm trying to be out in these streets. Now, I don't know, he might be trying to get out in them streets, but my thing is that's not a conversation to have right now, because when he was thick, you wasn't having all these issues. And I feel like in some level, Tamar is not insecure because her Thickums husband ain't Thickums. You know what I'm saying? He's a whole different person now. And cause the fact that she keeps saying, you keep getting skinny, how skinny you want to get, it shows that she has an issue with him losing weight. And that happens with people who like plus size people. There are men who be like, when they date a plus size woman, if she start losing too much weight and if she becomes skinny, they don't like her no more because why? They like plus size women. The same thing if a man dating a girl who nice and thin and in shape and she ain't got no excess nothing, and then she ends up gaining some weight. If he met you when you were skinny and that's just what he's attracted to, you kind of can't get upset if your whole body changed and the person, if that's not what they're attracted to. I ain't saying it's right. I'm seeing it happen on both sides. So, but Tamar can't keep feeding into that. You either love that man or you don't. It's kind of, for me, it's that simple. And, for me, it's a mess. And, then she's saying, well, I'm finna go in the front. You keep getting skinny and go find you a Becky with some good hair. And then Vince replies like, oh, really? You know what I'm saying? That sounds good to me. And then she pissed. Well, goddamn it, Tamar, you can't say stuff and get mad how people say something back to you. And that's what he says. Like, if you say something dumb to me, don't get mad at me. It's like, give you a dumb response. He's like, who the fuck you think you talking to? And you got me fucked up. She's pissed off. Who says that to their wife? And I'm like, but you said it to him. You said to now what Vince could have said was, I don't want Becky, I want you, so just be quiet. He could have said that, but he didn't. You said something dumb to him, he said something dumb back. That's that tit for tat shit. That's why I say they are both on different levels of marriage. And they ain't on the even playing field. And it's just a full-fledged mess. And, as I'm watching the episode, I was bored, because it's just such a clear divide between them two. It went from that, then, she hanging out with her two friends, the James dude and the EJ dude. They getting manicures and pedicures, and she telling them about the whole situation. And they like, well, Well, no. They bring up the show part. They're like, well, yeah, Vince should have been doing more, and he the manager, and he should have knew with the dance. They talking about the show. It's like whatever. She mentioned like how she can't flip out on Vince every time she get pissed off to see her husband. I mean, the conversation of her with her two friends, I thought it was pointless. I mean, I feel like when she used to have other people on the show as her friends, I was listening more. I'm like, these James and EJ, I'm not here for it. And I got really, really bored and was just like, whatever. I just kind of didn't care. Then they brought up a trip. Then they brought up a trip to Cabo. And I'm like, how they go from talking about the club gig so it's being hard having a manager as your husband. Now they all want to go to Cabo. And when you and your husband having issues, you don't take a trip to Cabo with your friends. You take a trip to Cabo with your husband. But, that ain't on me. So she then go to Vince like, hey, I'm thinking about taking a trip to Cabo. Let's get some time away, to leave everything else alone and just kind of get back to on center space. And she talking, and Vince look like he don't care. Like he does not look interested. It's as if she talking and he just like he not even listening to her. I mean, he probably listening to her, but he not listening. And he was like, well, who are going? And she's like, James and EJ. And she named about 3 people. And I'm like, but you and your husband beat out. Why you want? But it is what it is. And he's feeling like I would prefer if it was just me, Tamar, and Logan going. But her friends is cool. So I guess it is what it is. But I feel like who go on a trip with their husband and then bring they three gay best friends? I mean, or they're 3 gay male friends. I feel like you not gonna be able to have that family time, Tamar. You just not. And then we see Vince talking to Benzino, and Benzino like, y'all just need to get some time alone. And then he said, well, yeah, we going to Cabo. You should go. And he said he can't go because he just not get out the doghouse. But I'm like, it's really showing them being separate. Like you see Vince talking to his friend, Tamar talking to her friends. Tamar in the house in one part, Vince in the house in another part. It's completely separate. And I'm like, I'm just not here for it. I don't like this season. And as much petty dirt as it's given me to, because I do reviews and I do blogs and I do, celebrity gossip stuff. So it kind of, it is what it is. But because I'm a fan of Tamar, I'm like, I don't like this season. I don't know if I can take this whole season of just watching a couple's marriage dissolve. Like you're watching their marriage literally break apart. And I'm like, it's just kind of crazy, And so I kind of just stopped watching it a little bit, Next thing I know, they in Mexico. Now, ain't nothing happening in between. It was just a lot of conversation about, Vince mad and I'm mad and he want to have surgery. A lot of back and forth stuff that they keep talking about. It's the same old rhetoric. So I was like, I'm kind of over it. And, but now they in Mexico, they're in Cabo, and Tamar having to fix her damn head itch. Supposedly she got her hair braided by whoever, and whoever did her hair did not do it right. Her head is itching. And, she got James there, who's a damn, supposedly he's a celebrity stylist. But all he said was, whoever did her hair messed it up and they didn't do it right. They must have been petty, because when you get your hair braided and it's not dried all the way, your hair itch real bad. But I'm like, if you a hairstylist, you can't fix it. Like, you can't take her hair out and redo it. Like, ain't you a stylist, boo-boo? But, I mean, I'm trying to explain to y'all the fuckery and bullshit of this thing on episode. But I don't know if I just can't. I really, really can't. They end up suggesting she put some apple cider vinegar in her head. She do it and her hair feels better. But I'm just like, whatever. And Vincent and Logan, they didn't went to the room or whatever chilling. And again, Vincent's like, what I'm saying? I really do wish it could just be me, Tamar, and Logan. How we can have some quality time and that she don't always have to have her friends around. But I feel like she got her friends around because her and Vince had odds. Clearly, that's what I think. Then they on the boat. EJ want to swim, but he don't want to get his hair wet. James don't want to swim because he don't like swimming with fishes. And first Tamar and Logan scared of the fish, but then Tamar jumps in the water to show Logan you can't be scared, you have to face your fears. And then she said, I feel like a whole new woman because I faced my fear Okay. You know, there's a cute little scene of Vincent and Logan fishing. Very cute as far as, making memories for Logan, how we can say, I remember when me and my dad went fishing for the first time on a boat, and we caught a fish. Great moments with the family, but again, I'm distracted because she got her two friends over there, damn peanut gallery, cackling and stuff, and I'm like, it is what it is. And then the last scene is they at dinner. Now they at dinner, you can clearly see that Vince is intoxicated. But I feel like it's a reason for that. People don't realize this, but when you have weight loss surgery, you can't eat a lot and you can't drink a lot at all. Like 1 glass of wine is the equivalent of like 5 glasses of wine. You know what I'm saying? So like if he had 2 drinks, it's the equivalent of him having 8 drinks. Your system is completely different. So I don't feel like he was probably sitting around getting drunk. I feel like he probably had literally a full, strong glass of whatever, and it got him inebriated because, again, when you have that surgery, your body reacts differently, and you can't, everything is more potent. You know what I'm saying? So, again, you can't have all that. So that's what I think the issue was. But you can tell that he was clearly, under the influence of something. And, he seemed to be in a mood. But I feel like he in a mood because his wife is up there cackling with her, 2 friends, and it's a whole joke thing, and he trying to have some time with his wife, and because they not at odds, they not able to be there, just the 2 of them, and it got awkward real fast. So both James and EJ was like, Vince, you can tell Vince is in the mood, it seems awkward. It's like, should we leave? But y'all ass still sat there, you know what I'm saying? We then, they all sitting around, and then James get a call, and his friend there. Now, James, who's a friend of Tamar, brought his own friend. How does a friend bring a friend on a trip? What? I'm just like, okay. So the friend get there, and she, he comes in, hey, what up, Vince? He speaks to everyone. He's very polite. He goes, sits down. But again, you see Vince like, and I feel like it's a thing of he didn't want other people around. And again, I feel like he was probably inebriated. And, they all get to joking. Not Vince, of course. Tamar, EJ, James, and the friend of a friend is all joking. They then say, yeah, this food would be good if it didn't have all that butter. Butter causes gout. So then they all kind of cracking jokes and stuff. Tamar, well, I feel like she was wrong on this, then says, Vince, you got gout from doing all that drinking. And he looked like, what? You know what I'm saying? What? And I feel like this. You don't come at your spouse in front of your friends, especially when you and your spouse are at odds. I do feel like it was a petty, shady comment from Tamar. I do feel like that. I feel like that wasn't the time to say that. And because what if he didn't know people? What if he didn't want people to know he had gout? You know what I'm saying? What if he didn't know? He didn't want people to know that. And you just up here all wooden lady saying, well, Vince, you got gout, remember? Ha, 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 ha. More that drinking, ha, 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 ha. And they all laughing. And my thing is, he probably don't find that funny. I mean, he doesn't. And, from there, he like, you... it was weird because he like, what did he say? Because, no, Tamar said that's a rich person disease. And you can see Vince was getting more and more upset. And then he said, you talking about me like a dog. And she like, what? And he was like, I did catch gout 5 years ago from when I got sick. It's a very painful disease. It's not a rich man disease, but it's something real. And I don't want to joke about it. I feel him. Some people don't want to joke about stuff like that. And I'm like, and that's your husband. You know what I'm saying? That's your husband who you kept saying, oh my God, he almost died. So you cracking jokes about something that he caught based on when he almost died. And it just felt unnecessary. It felt like because he was the odd one out when he was sitting there and he just wasn't in a good mood, and y'all joking and joking and joking, and y'all gonna kind of joke at his expense. That's what I took it as. I also felt like if Vince wasn't in the mood, he could have stayed in the room, but at the same time, he on a trip with his wife. You know what I'm saying? I would have said, this dinner should be for me and you. That ain't what Tamar wanted to do. They laughing and joking, and Vince found the shit funny. And he gets up and he leaves because he don't find it funny. And he goes back to the room. And he like, I went back because I was tired. I wanted to lay down. He was drunk, but it's okay. Tamar then goes on to say, you know what, Vince, before Vince left, how EJ had lost, he used to be 300 pounds. And Vince, like, you know what, God bless him, but you know what I'm saying? You don't have to talk about me like a piece of shit, like what I'm saying right here. Don't do that. I felt like he was offended by what she said, probably based on the fact that it was already beefed out and they haven't had any conversation about it. And so it just kind of made it worse. And then, you know, even James in his confessional saying, you know, I think it was unreasonable for Vince to get up and leave. That's another problem. Don't let your friends be in your marriage. James' ass should not be in the confessional comment on your marriage. Hush, okay? Hush. And that's something else that causes discourse. You are letting other people get in between stuff. And I'm like, it just doesn't look good. And you know why? Vince clearly was under something. He wasn't wrong for saying, don't talk about me like that. You know what I'm saying? Don't bring up what I'm suffering from or what I suffered from. I don't find it funny. You know, I don't want to be the butt of you and your friends' jokes. And could it be based on an insecurity he had or something he had? It could have. But then again, I'm your husband. And you can see I'm not in a joking mood, so why make me the butt of your joke? It was, for me, to me, I thought it was crazy that Tamar said that. And then the ending scene is this Tamar saying how she, you know, she speaks of a quote of not letting the devil steal your joy. And she said, you know, I'm not going to let anyone bring me down to their level of misery. You know, I have nothing to be upset about. And I feel like you clearly talking about your husband. You are clearly saying that for whatever reason your husband is miserable. But if your husband is miserable, the person that you should be talking about this to is your husband. I don't feel like there's ever a reason to be sitting around with your friends on a trip with your husband and your son saying how your husband is basically miserable and you refuse to let him bring you down to that misery. Now, I agree. If someone else is miserable, you do not want to be, you know, tangled in that. But when it's your husband, when the vows are for better or for worse, for richer or for poor, you figure out what the hell is going on. Why are you miserable? If I'm in a great mood and my husband is miserable, something ain't right. Some ain't balanced, because sometimes a person feeds off your energy. So my thing is, it should be impossible for me to be in this great, wonderful, positive mood and my husband's in a completely different mood. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, that's something to figure out. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I feel like they both at fault. Because for whatever reason, something wrong with Vince, and he ain't saying what it is. But at the same time, Tamar almost is like, you know what? I'm not going to let him bring me down to his level of him being miserable. You know, I'm gonna live in my happiness. You know, why is everyone so sensitive? So even to see Tamar say, why is everyone so sensitive, when she has been known to be extra sensitive about things going on in her life. She has been known to get emotional about things going on. She has been known to be the sensitive Braxton as she is the youngest. Why are you now saying, you know, why everyone so sensitive? But you've been sensitive your whole life, Tamar, and I hate to have to even go in on her and question what the fuck is wrong with her and why she's acting as if she's oblivious? Yeah, oblivious to why her husband is unhappy, or why she's so happy, or why she is unhappy with her husband. Like, you can't make it seem like, oh my God, Vince is overreacting about everything. Vince is oh so sensitive. You know, why can't we joke about your why can't we joke about being fat or whatever? Sometimes fat people don't want to be the butt of the joke. Sometimes fat people don't want to be the joke of, oh, because you fat, you gonna get diabetes. Or, oh, because you was fat, you got gout. He don't want to joke about that. That ain't what he want to joke about. So, you know, she also says how, you know, I have my own insecurities and I can't take on someone else's insecurities. That's absolutely true. But when your husband has insecurities, I feel like as a wife, you are supposed to help him get over them. Not take on his insecurities. You know, not take that into yourself, but try to help him get over his hump. You know what I'm saying? Don't be like, you know, those are his insecurities. These are my insecurities. I can't help you with yours. Well, yes, you can, because you can help him figure out what's wrong and how you can fix it. And because she literally said, you know, I can't take on someone else's insecurities. That wasn't in my vows. I'm like, Lord. And I don't feel like this season is making either one of them look good. You know, I don't think either one of them looks like, oh, well, we can clearly see why they're getting divorced. It was clearly Vince's fault. It was clearly Tamar's fault. It's both. It's clearly both of their faults. But I do feel like Tamar at this current time on the episode, she's over it. She's not even trying to fix it. She's basically saying, I'm good. I'm cool. I'm happy. You miserable. So you need to figure out what's wrong with you. You have your own insecurities that I'm not going to take into myself. You need to figure that out. And I feel like Vince is saying, I want more time with my wife. I want more time with my wife. I want to fix this. But you're not saying it to Tamar. You know what I'm saying? Y'all both are clearly at fault. And, she says, he wants to go ahead and get, she said, he shouldn't go get skinny to get his life. Again, she keeps talking about him getting skinny, and I feel like that is her insecurity, that he gonna get skinny and leave her. She goes and say, I feel single, I feel alone, I feel not supported, and like if I say the wrong thing, he gonna leave me. I don't want to end up like my parents. If you don't want to end up like your parents, then fight for your marriage. Now, my thing is, if he beating you, don't fight for your marriage. You know what I'm saying? That's the only thing I would tell a person to not fight for a marriage, is when there's any kind of physical abuse. But if he not beating you and y'all just having, marital issues, you can fix that. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to end up like your parents if you're not willing to not give up. But if your marriage is just broken and you're not happy and it's just horrible and you try to fix it and it don't work, I get getting a divorce. But when she's like, I feel single, I feel alone, but you saying all this to your friends and not your husband. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's where people sometimes get things wrong at. They want to vent and complain to their friends and not to their spouses, or not to their boyfriends and not to their girlfriends. Your friends can't fix your relationship. They can't. I mean, it's just not possible, simply because they're not in your relationship. And you have to be careful who you speak your secrets around. You know what I'm saying? You can't do that. Like, this episode was crazy. I just want people to know that. And I don't know if it's gonna get any better. I know it's gonna get worse. So I need them both to get their shit together. Anywho, that was my recap of Tamar and Vince season 4, episode 2. Episode 2 or 3, I can't remember. I just screened and went black, and is what it is. But put your comments below. Let me know how you feel. I will talk to you guys next time. I am Jay Lee. This is Jay Lee's Corner. Peace. Of course, it didn't stop.